we're talking, of course, with Jasmine Guillory about her novel, her latest novel, which is Drunk on Love. Now she's got The Wedding Date, The Proposal, which was a New York Times bestseller. The Wedding Party was a New York Times bestseller. I'm sorry. Royal Holiday, Party of Two, While We Were Dating, By the Book. Like you been. So once you got started, ma'am, it's like you can't stop.
Yeah, once I got started, I couldn't stop. I just realized that I had so much fun with it. I had all of these stories in my head, and I've just had so much fun being able to write them down and share them with the world.
Okay, so let's get into Drunk on Love. It is the setting is Napa Valley. Yeah. It is the owner of a winery, and there's a new guy coming in. We meet him in chapter 1. He is leaving behind a very successful career that we don't know about yet, to become a wine taster. I guess he's working in the tasting room. Tell us about Mr. Williams.
Taste wine. Yeah.
Okay. So and the protagonist Margo, she's not really like, why is he here? So what inspired this story?
Well, so backing up, I think I love Napa Valley. I go there frequently. I was actually just there yesterday. And so because it's a, short drive from my house, it's easy, day trip. My mother has always loved wine, and so I sort of learned about wine through her. And when I was starting to think about writing kind of in a different place, in a kind of new universe than my first 6 novels, which were all kind of connected, at first I was like, I'm not sure where to go. And then I thought, oh, Napa, that's where I want to write a book. And so once I kind of figured out the setting, and then I knew it would be set in a winery, and then so much of the story just came to me, and then I just kind of dove in and started writing. So I had a lot of fun writing this book, and a lot of fun doing the research.
What kind of research? She's giggling with the research. Okay. Was it
the
drinking or was it the sex, Jasmine? What was the research you were doing?
Visit lots of wineries, ask lots of questions about wine, drink some wine, all the good stuff.
Okay. What's your favorite wine?
Oh, I can't pick a favorite. There's so many. It depends on the season, right?
Okay, like, we're in a particular season. What is a fall? A nice fall
rosé is perfect. Okay. In the fall, you start getting into maybe a Pinot Noir. And then as it gets colder, you want the bigger reds. But yeah, it depends on the season.
Jasmine Guillory is here. You talk a lot about your mom. Was your dad in the picture?
Oh yeah. My dad, okay. My dad was getting his PhD when I was little. And so I would go to school with him to go to the library. So I'm hanging out in the library. This was before people paid too close attention to children, right? So I'm just sort of wandering around the university library reading books while he's studying or doing his thing. And so I learned I got my love for books and reading from both of my parents.
Okay. So as I'm going through what I love, and I want to, this show is really, we lean in on power, on Black power, even though that's redundant to me. Yeah. Reading this book, I don't know where these people might be. Anybody, if your imagination is an imagination, which we all should have and tweak, are you purposeful in how you shape the characters when we are introduced to them, so that they are pretty much anybody, any place, anywhere in the world?
I really think of characters as specific people. So when I start to think through a character, there's always a few things that I know about them. And then as I write the book, they become more and more distinct to me. So I want people to be able to read these books and think these are actual real people that they know, because they feel real in my head. So I want them to feel real to other people.
Okay, so who's Margo in your head?
Oh, I mean, Margo is, she is the co-owner of a winery. She cares very much about her job. She works a little too much, but she never thinks she works hard enough. She has very tight friendships, not a lot of room for other things in her personal life. And then that changes early in the book. But yeah, Margo is great. I feel like Margo is a friend of mine.
Okay, so she's not part of you.
I mean, all of my characters are part of me in some way or another. Like, not just the women, like the men are too. I feel like as a writer, it's impossible for me to write a character that doesn't have some, none of them are me, but they all have a little bit of me in them, I think.
Okay, so John Grisham does these mysterious books. Stacey Abrams, I think she does romance too. These
She
are
does
people
romance,
with
yeah.
law. I always said law because I almost went to law school. Because lawyers, when you go to law school, you have to read a lot. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of reading, and I feel like there's a lot of creativity, especially with the law today. There's a lot of creativity, even though because laws change, and you have to imagine. I think Pauline Murray. I think about Spotswood Robinson. I think about Thurgood Marshall. These giants, these behemoths of law. But they also had these other sides to them, and I love when lawyers write because it's usually so much more depth to it. Why romance, Ms. Guillory?
I when I first started writing, I experimented with a few different things. And when I started writing romance, it just felt right. Like I had so much fun with it. I really understood the characters. I feel like romance is all about the characters because you really need to understand who these people are to know why they're falling in love with one another. And so it was just so much fun to think about it and to think and write their stories. I also think romance is so much of like who as a person you were before you came together that made you into a person. And so it was also like really interesting for me to think about who are these people's families, what made them into the person they are, who are their friends, and thinking through all of that was just a joy for me.
We're talking with Jasmine Guillory. You can follow her at The Best Jasmine. I'm sure there are other Jasmines out there that's like, wait a minute, hold up, Ms. Guillory. The Best Jasmine, that's very cheeky. That's very cheeky. Has writing allowed you to not have to work in your given field?
Yes. So I stopped practicing law about 3 years ago.
Now, was that a leap of faith or was that on the heels of the bestseller? Because the bestseller, 2019, 30, 20, yeah. Was that because of The Wedding Party?
Well, so the proposal was also a New York Times bestseller. That was,
I'm sorry.
It was sort of because it was at the point where I knew that I can afford to live as a writer, basically. I think, we all like, there are lots of financial decisions that we make. And I needed to know that I could like pay my monthly expenses as a writer alone. And once I got to that point, I wanted to see like, what can I do if I'm just doing one thing? Because my first 3 books I wrote as I was working full time. And so after, it was much easier to sort of write the first ones because I was working full time, but I was just writing, and there's a difference between writing and being a published author. Like I had to, do so many other things once my books were out that it became really hard to balance everything. And so once I got to a point where I could survive without a legal job, I wanted to make that leap in order to give myself a chance to just focus on my writing career.
All right, that first book, 2018, The Wedding Date. Give us the pitch or the proposal that got that book sold, and that's one of 6. So we have more to come in this line, and you veered off over here with Drunk on Love. So I imagine that's going to be, you're going to end up being, I see the prolificness. Is that prolificity? I just made up a word. I like that.
I like it. It's a good word.
Yeah, you're very prolific. And so what was it about The Wedding Date that allowed for your publisher to say yes, and then give you a multiple book deal? Or did the multiple book deal come after the success?
So The Wedding Date is about a woman, Alexa, who works for the mayor of Berkeley. She gets stuck in an elevator at a hotel with a guy named Drew, who is in San Francisco to go to his ex-girlfriend's wedding. And then Drew convinces her, after they get unstuck from the elevator, to be his date to the wedding. And then there's a little romance between the two of them. That book got me a 2-book deal, and then it's sort of been going on ever since.
Now, Berkeley is that an accident that it's based in Berkeley? Is that just coincidence?
Yes, it's a coincidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And for people now checking out, so they've loved you on this journey with the wedding date, folk, right? The proposal, the wedding party, the royal holiday. They've loved you. What's different in terms of like style? Is it stylistically different, Drunk on Love? And for people who've never read a single Jasmine Guillory book, give them an elevator pitch for why they should pick up this one.
Drunk on Love is a book about Black people who work hard, who love their jobs, who love their families and friends, but are struggling in different ways, and they fall in love. It's a happy, fun story that will entertain you, will make you laugh, but it also deals with important issues that I think many of us have been going through in the past few years. I had a lot of fun writing it, so I hope you will have fun reading it.